The pectoral girdle is now part of the appendicular skeleton. So instead of the axial skeleton, we're going to start talking about the appendicular skeleton. And this is really easy to remember because this is what is the appendages, but also what attaches the appendages onto our central axial skeleton. So the appendicular skeleton. So pectoral is different from pelvic. Pectoral attaches the upper arm or the arm, so the upper limb or arm to the axial skeleton. Now, this attachment is really interesting. There's actually only two bones in our pectoral girdle. So it includes the clavicle, and this is what attaches our upper limb to our sternum, and also the scapula. What is the common name for these? The common name would be the collarbone and the shoulder blade. So when we look at this attachment, you need to be able to identify the bones. The clavicle is right here. It is going to attach to the sternum, the manubrium of the sternum. This is the only place that we have the attachment of the upper limb to your axial skeleton. And so this is why this bone is a strut. And this is why oftentimes your clavicle gets broken, specifically when you fall and your hand is out and you're trying to catch yourself. All of the forces that are being transmitted up through the arm are going to go through that clavicle, and that is possibly going to cause the clavicle to fracture. So you'll notice here that the clavicle then does not articulate directly with the upper arm. It does not connect with the humerus. The clavicle connects with the scapula, which is the shoulder blade, and then the scapula articulates with the humerus. Okay, so let's write that down. So the clavicle articulates with the sternum, and I would say medially, right? So in the center, medially, the clavicle articulates with the sternum and with the scapula. So I could say that then the scapula articulates with the humerus, and this makes up the shoulder joint. The shoulder joint is an example of a ball and socket joint, and there's a lot of range of motion. One of the reasons for this high range of motion is this articulation. So if we look at the way that the scapula articulates with the humerus, there is just this little space here, and you can't see that very well. This is the articulation right here, and it is rather a shallow articulation. So there's a lot of movement. And then the scapula is simply floating kind of on the back of the body. So it is not connected to your ribs or connected to your vertebrae at all. And the only place where it articulates with a bone is at the articulation with the clavicle and articulation with the humerus. So this all is kind of free floating Although there are muscles, lots of muscles attached that allow us to move the scapula along the body, there's even muscles on the inside of the scapula called the subscapular muscles. There's muscles on the top here and on the bottom, and there's muscles that attach to these different borders, right? So this all allows for this movement of the shoulder and movement of the scapula on the body.